Go ahead and call this meeting to order. Welcome to the Engineering Equipment Committee of the Vallecitos Water District for Monday, December 6th at 3:18 p.m. And seeing that we don't have any public, I'm not going to read all through this. We don't have any public comment, I take it.
And no public comments.
So with that, I think we can start with the items for discussion, and I'll turn it over to you, James.
Thank you, Director Arthur. So we're going to start off with the first item, which is the Meadowlark Reclamation Facility Aeration Basin Improvement. And Senior Engineer Ryan Morgan will be giving a presentation on this one, and actually he'll be giving a presentation on the next two also.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Thank you, Assistant General Manager Gumpel. Actually, I'm going to call on Engineer Lito Santos to take the first two items, and then I will be jumping in for the third.
Okay.
Lito may have stepped out. There you go.
Oh, there he is.
So Lito is going to go ahead and take the first two items, first being the aeration basin improvements at Meadowlark.
Yep.
I think he's trying to control sharing his screen.
Yeah.
Give him a minute, and then I can have Ryan share his screen instead. There we go. Lito, I think you're still on mute.
Sorry about that, everyone. Hi, Director Hernandez, Director Elitharp. We'd like to begin with the project over at our Meadowlark treatment plant. Over at Meadowlark, we've got three projects that were slated for construction this year. We have the headworks, odor scrubber number one, and the aeration basin. Two out of the three projects were completed, the headworks and the odor scrubber number one. Unfortunately, due to supply chain issues this year, the aeration basin was delayed. Just to jog your memories, the aeration basin, from primary goes to the roughing filters, the oxygen's depleted, so the oxygen's reintroduced, and then onto the secondary clarifiers where the oil and the solids from that point continues to be separated. And at that point, it could either go out to the ocean or go to tertiary treatment to produce recycled water. During the 2007 upgrades, the aeration panels and everything in there was replaced. However, they were very inefficient and later again replaced in 2011. The panels, even after replacement in 2011, continue to show inefficiency. Today, or prior to this project beginning, one of the basins were inoperable, and two of the clarifiers on the outside here were down to 50 to 60% efficiency. So, and then the panels that were replaced in 2011 were no longer being made. So replacement parts were obsolete. So it was a good time. We did a study and then began construction this year to basically replace this and upgrade it with an anaerobic and aerobic zone. The anaerobic zone would mix right after roughing filters and then shoot it with oxygen. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, the PVC pipe on the bottom, as well as the ceramic disc, faced supply chain issues with the whole pandemic. We had notice to proceed back in March. We had this is a design build that's going to take over 10 months with a 3-month procurement. Sometime in August, we found out the supplier was heavily backlogged and they couldn't get the supplies out to us. We're fortunate that we're actually going to get the supplies tomorrow at the treatment plant and continue on our progress. Right now, we have the anaerobic zone 50% installed with the panels here in the pictures with the compressors. So we'll be getting the ceramic disc, the baffles, and all the piping so that we can begin setting up the first basin. Even with the 3-month delay, we're looking at a project completion sometime about March. We'll start testing the first basin, hopefully by the end of this month, if not the beginning of January. And then one basin will take approximately a month to another basin to complete within the next month after that, and so on and so forth. And by the 3rd month, we'll have it all completed. And this project will, even with our project delays, we should have a pretty good surplus. Right now, we're on track with a $330,000 project surplus. Even with all the delays, it's still on track financially. So we were able to get by this summer even with the project delays with the two aerobic zones. That's about it for this project. So, directors, do you have any questions?
Before you, just to add a little bit to it, so you may recall this project's been back to committee before. Originally, we had nothing but aerations in that basin, and we've separated now. We have a biological selector. That's primary goal is to remove phosphorus. We're doing that in that first section that Lito pointed out at the front of the aeration basins with the baffle wall. In order to remove the phosphorus, which is the main food for the algae, because this goes to our open water reservoir that we feed both Carlsbad and Limonide, and the algae blooms are not only costly, it also invites bugs and larvae to grow that eat the algae, which causes additional problems and really creates additional maintenance for our system. And then the aeration basins before, the previous panels were a membrane type, and they worked well, but they were susceptible to failure. And which is what's happened. So we're going back to the tried and true ceramic discs that have been working in the industry for decades.
So the phosphorus removal isn't related to any regulatory requirement?
No, not at all. So the phosphorus removal is, every day we put brand new phosphorus-rich water into our reservoir, which is basically food for algae.
Right.
And basically when we get a hot spell, with that open water reservoir, it invites that algae bloom. So we're trying to get to the head source of it to help remove it, which means all the work that Ed's staff has done out there with the on-site sodium hypochlorite, on-site chlorination, and the algae sonic will be even more effective.
All right. Any other questions?
No?
Thank you, Lito.
Thanks, Lito.
And I have the next project up. The next project on the screen is the emergency bypass sewer. The emergency bypass sewer has had 6 breaks since 2015, or sorry, 3 breaks for the last 6 years since 2015. The sewer bypass is over at off Rancho Santa Fe, off the Pine Nursery. Which is close to Brighton Glen, and then it pops out basically over on Melrose Drive, where it connects to our sewer siphon that goes over to Encina. This sewer bypass allows us to pass flows or bypass flows from that would normally go to our treatment plants and go over to our sewer outfall. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, back in 2015, and we've had 3 breaks, one in 2015, 2017, again in 2019. So we have not operated this sewer bypass, I believe, since 2015. The sewer bypass is constructed with a 16-inch techite that was installed back in 1967. Techite is a fiberglass reinforced pipe. Unfortunately, the quality of the pipe was not heavily regulated and was very faulty. So our strategy is to line the sewer bypass from the Pine Nursery over to Melrose. We will be installing 5 manholes along the alignment, and approximately every 1,000 feet, we will be installing the manholes. We will also be installing, during heavy bends, we'll also have to have access pits there to be able to access and pull the liner through. As part of a cost savings for economy of scale, we had also combined this project with the fail-safe that runs parallel off Red Wing over here on this cul-de-sac and going through that canyon area in the back over here, where the sewer bypass, where they run parallel to help save the costs. The fail-safe has also shown some failures in the past. It's not along this alignment, but it is further down, and they've also had breaks along Red Wing, where my cursor is. I believe it was near the church down here. So in total, we'll be lining the 16-inch emergency bypass, that's 3,200 feet, and the 12-inch fail-safe, which is about 22 linear feet. And the fail-safe as well will also have 5 access points. These access points are 15 to 20 feet deep on the emergency bypass, and a little bit shallower with the 12-inch fail-safe. That's approximately about 10 to 8 feet. So for the bypass, it's going to be pretty deep trenching. The current projected budget for this, or the engineer's budget, is 1.7 million. We currently have about 3.2 million budgeted and designed through planning, designing, and construction. We plan to complete design and bid documents and begin advertising early January, and have a bid walk about late January, and then bid opening early February, award about second meeting in February or first meeting in March. Directors, do you have any questions?
Yeah, the relining, is that a cured in place product?
Yes, there'll be a CIPP liner. It may be steam, it may be UV. This will be a structural liner due to the depth and the recommendation from the designers because of Techite's nature being fragile.
Okay. Any other questions?
Nope.
Also, just to note, the committee and the board will be seeing a lot of projects called fail-safe over the next few years, because the fail-safes is in 3 sections. We have the Vallecitos section, which we're going to be actively either rehabbing or replacing. We have the Buena section, which is owned 50-50 between Buena and Vallecitos, which we're in the process of actually designing to replace or line the whole thing. And then we'll have the final section, which is the Buena, Vallecitos, and Carlsbad section, which is the west end that takes you all the way to Encina. So all those projects are due, and there's obviously a split cost between the agencies on it, but they're all projects that are going to be. So you'll be hearing things named the fail-safe multiple times over the next several years.
Okay.
Thank you, Lito.
Thank you, directors. Thank you, AGM. Ms.
All right.
Morgan,
I'll take this next and last item. The last two items Lito presented, the committee has heard on in the past, so we've just largely provided some updates on those items. This item, the maintenance building C tenant improvements, is a new item which has not come to committee yet, but we wanted to bring it today just to shed some light on O&M's most recent request to have capital help facilitate the planning and securing of a architect and a PSA through design and then construction phase, bid phase and construction phase services for this project. And just to give the directors a little background, the recently created maintenance services department here at the district in the O&M division does not have an office space currently. This project seeks out to modify the maintenance building C existing workspace in a tenant improvement that will basically transform the shop space into more of a building office setting for department staff in the C building. The existing shop space, go ahead, Juan Lito, is shown here in these photos. As you can see, the space is not finished, and it has some existing wall penetrations for roll-up doors that are never utilized. One of the items of the project is to remove the overhead doors and to close off those penetrations. The project is all-encompassing, really, of HVAC, mechanical, and plumbing improvements. There's electrical improvements. There's some minor structural improvements and general architectural elements involved with this project. Go advance one more, Lito. Currently, we're in the we have solicited proposals from local qualified architects in the area who have experience doing this type of work for other agencies in North County and within the county of San Diego. It is budgeted. This project is budgeted in the fiscal year 21-22 budget. Its current budget is $150,000. We have 4 proposals sitting in front of us, which we plan to evaluate this week and make a determination on the most responsive architect and proposal we receive. And with that, it's our schedule to complete design by the end of this fiscal year, so in June. And then we will have a construction completion at some point in time in 2023, if not earlier. This is just a schematic floor plan option. It's very conceptual. It's actually taken right out of one of the proposals. It's not to say that the end product is going to look like this, but it's a concept of what the space could be transformed into. And with that, operations manager Ed Pedrazi is on this meeting. If the directors have any questions between myself and Ed, we'll be able to address those at this time.
Okay, thanks, Ryan. Yeah, I've got a question. Maybe you can remind me on the newly created Maintenance Services Department. What's their function?
I'll let Ed take that one.
Yeah, Director Olitharp, the facilities maintenance is handled by them, so everything in the building you're currently in and the B building I'm in and all the other facilities here in the yard. All of those facilities are maintained by that department. We have the two landscapers that maintain facilities out in the field as well in that department. The two mechanics that work on all of our equipment in the shop is within that department, as well as the warehouse. So they're busy, and it used to kind of be scattered between other O&M departments, and actually finance handled the facilities maintenance, but as you can imagine, they really weren't set up for that. So right now, they don't have a place to sit down and talk or do their work. They're scattered throughout the yard right now with their offices. So we're building them an office so they can be an actual department like everybody else.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions?
Nope.
All right.
Thank you, directors.
This is really just an informational item. We were seeking initial acceptance of this item because staff does plan to bring this to the board of directors for architectural award of the PSA in the near future.
That's exactly correct. So the board's going to see a recommendation from staff to go forward with the design and award of a consultant for a PSA. Probably maybe second meeting in January or first meeting in February, it would be my guess.
If the meeting on December 15th is not canceled, we can potentially make it to that meeting for this item.
Sooner than I thought then. Okay. Great, thank you.
I do have a question here. I just trying to figure out what your budget is per square foot. And so, oh, heavenly days. Let's see. We got, clear that.
There, Director Hernandez, there wasn't a whole lot of evaluation on cost per square foot when this was originally budgeted. We weren't involved in the budgeting process of this project.
Uh-huh.
We got pulled in kind of late in the game, a month or two ago, to assist with this. The budget being as it is, I think, was under the assumption that there was probably less effort required, just probably getting a contractor on board to perform this work without really realizing that quite a bit of design, effort was going to be involved, considering all the different disciplines, electrical, structural, mechanical, and HVAC, that are required that we cannot easily do in-house ourselves.
Yeah, I guess just to add to that clarification, the budget's mainly for getting a consultant on board. Once we get a consultant on board and go through the design process, we're gonna bring it back through committee, through design, because that acceptance of that design for the new architectural layout will also dictate what the construction budget that we'll have to budget for in next fiscal year's budget. So it's really a two-step process, because I'm sure doing the math, you probably figure out that 150 is not gonna hold it with structural repairs and
No,
HVAC and everything else.
yeah, that's,
It's about 800 square feet, isn't it?
yeah,
It's about 180, yeah, 180,
$790 something,
yeah, about $190 a square foot's not quite gonna get you there.
yeah.
So yeah, this budget that's currently is really gonna, it should, hopefully, I haven't seen the numbers, cover the design, and staff time and everything else, and then going through the committee process with the final product, prior to the end of the fiscal year, we'll obviously be looking at this well before then, so we could add in the appropriate construction budget next fiscal year.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I think what the engineers are trying to say is that Ed's not an engineer or an architect.
yeah.
And thank you, guys. I'm not.
No offense taken.
Ed, we all have goals, we'll help you
Oh,
get there.
yeah, yes, that's not one of mine.
I'm a recovering engineer. All right. Do you need any recommendation from us today?
No, not at all. This is just an informational item,
Okay.
but when we bring it back to the board, then you guys have some of this background information, so we just go over it probably fairly quickly and get right into the numbers. There's a good chance that the item will go forward for the consultant award before coming to committee, just because of the timing. But this was our opportunity to let the committee know where we are in the process, so they're aware of it.
Okay,
Do
great.
you know when you're gonna select an architect?
Yeah, it might be as early as the 15th meeting this month. If not, it's going to go to the first, well, we may cancel the first January meeting. I'm not too sure about that. So
Yeah.
whichever January meeting possible.
Okay,
All right, with that, that's our 3 items. Any other business? Seeing none? I
None
think-
for staff.
no?
I'd like to thank staff for the great information they provided today on these 3 items. Thank you.
Yeah, that's worked out real well. And I apologize for holding up the meeting.
No problem. And with that, seeing no other business, we're adjourned.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.